Welcome. I'm Sara Thornhill. This is Sleep Strategies for Anxiety, Part 2, the truth about why you wake up at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. and can't go back to sleep with that racing heart and, most of all, the racing thoughts. Something that I hear so often from clients, and maybe you can relate to this. It's this idea of going to bed and having all the thoughts come rushing in. The to-do lists, the he said, she said, the regrets, the what ifs. It's this mental ping pong of everything you should have said or done differently, or maybe anticipation for what's going to happen the next day, the next week, the next month. And you're not alone. And of course, we know that you are not broken. You're just overwhelmed. And your system doesn't know how to power down. The thoughts didn't come rushing in all at once. The 3Ds have been helping. Deny, distract, dissociate. Those are the 3Ds in my book. Deny, distract, dissociate. Our human brain and body are incredible. They process a lot of data, but the conscious mind only processes a very little bit. So I'll break down the actual numbers for you. All around you at all times, there are billions of bits of data. However, we can't take in all of the billions of bits of data. The brain and the body are incredibly intelligent, though. They take in around 11 million bits per second, which sounds like a lot. But we're only consciously aware of between 40 and 50 of those 11 million bits per second. So I did the math. That means that we're conscious of 0.04% of what we're able to take in, not of all of reality. All of reality is those billions of bits, but what we're able to take in, 11 million bits per second, we're conscious of about 0.04%. And that is where we're placing our awareness. And if we are deciding to deny, distract, and dissociate from the real problems that we have that have been stored from childhood, then we're not ever going to get to the root problem. So you can't think your way out of something. You can't think your way through something. You need a way to be able to sort and focus and be able to actually put your awareness in a place that's helpful. And that's where this work comes in, because there's only one relationship, the one that you have with yourself. And you've probably heard me say that a lot. The way that we treat ourselves inside of our head affects every other relationship. It affects the way that we walk, talk, and stand. If we don't believe in ourselves, other people likely won't. So if you want self-improvement, then it's time to get to know yourself. Spend time actually inside of your head so you can get to know those inner workings of the mind. Because when you wake up at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. with a pounding heart, I mean, this is incredibly common. It's not random. And we're going to talk today about some of the physiological things that are happening there. And we're also going to talk about the root causes that no one talks about. I mean, I'm sure you've heard about the blue lights, right? The UV lights, the cell phones, the screens. It's being called poor sleep hygiene to have light exposure right before you go to bed. People already know this. And so we're not going to cover a whole lot of that. If you have questions about that, throw it in the chat. You can stay afterwards. But even low levels of those blue lights from electromagnetic phones, EMFs, near your pillow, near your head. The phone really needs to be at least 6 feet away, and we need to stay away from the screens and not blast ourselves with these giant screens until we decide to go to bed. That is not going to help us to go to sleep. But I'm not here to talk about that. I feel like that's well known. Everybody is talking about poor sleep hygiene. We know what the result is. It's lighter sleep because our body thinks it's daytime. We have light receptors in our eyes that are taking up the UV light. And of course, if our body thinks it's daytime, we're not going to go into deep sleep. And so we have a higher chance of waking up mid-sleep cycle. Today, we're going to go much deeper than what everybody's talking about. And I'm going to talk about the 3 things that are likely happening and how to combat them. We're going to go over in some detail cortisol spike, which is a stress hormone, cortisol, a blood sugar crash, as well as subconscious patterns from unprocessed emotions that we are denying, distracting, and dissociating from and choosing not to do the work. So let's talk first about the cortisol spikes. I think it's pretty well known that cortisol is a stress hormone. When we go into fight or flight, we are going to get a rush of cortisol. And it's incredibly helpful for us when we actually need to fight or flee. It is not helpful when we are stuck in constant fight or flight. If you have cortisol in your system and are not going into that rest and digest, it's going to cause a whole host of problems. In short, your nervous system is going to be dysregulated. Digestion is not going to happen regularly or often enough. You might end up with a number of different problems. Maybe, irritable bowel syndrome or constipation or diarrhea, some combination of all these things. Because if our body is in a state of fight or flight, we're not going to prioritize digesting. That's just how the body works. So when we're freaking out, stressing out, worrying about a lot of things and not allowing our system to slow down, that is going to cause that 3 a.m. wake up time. So if you're having a difficult conversation with a loved one in your life, family, friend, or if you're focusing on stressful things right before bed, it can lead to your body being in a state of fight or flight. So it's going to have a surge when you really should be going into parasympathetic. And so this could cause you to wake up early, like around 2 or 3 a.m., and then be hyper aroused because you're going to think about the last things that you were thinking about already. And when we have insomnia, the body will finally crash. We'll sleep for 2 or 3 hours, or if we're having like a lot of stress in our lives, we'll just get just enough, and then we'll wake up again and not be able to go back asleep. And that, of course, is because of the thoughts, which we will talk about. The second reason is a blood sugar crash. So every night between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., your liver is doing nightly detox work. If you're not going to bed at 10 p.m. or even before that, really 9:30 is the circadian rhythm cutoff, then your body is not going to start getting rid of adenosine, which is a really important thing that your body needs to get rid of. And the adenosine is what makes you feel tired. So if you're not going to bed early enough, not shutting off the screens early enough, and then trying to go to bed at 11, 12, or 1, you haven't gotten rid of the adenosine. Plus, you're missing out on crucial sleep. And then between 2 and 4 a.m., your liver is going to detox from all the sugar. So that's not just refined sugar. That's pasta, bread, other things that turn into sugar. Obviously, alcohol has a lot of sugar in it. Caffeine, we put sugar in caffeine. Often the ones that they sell have a lot of sugar, or sugar-like things that do turn into sugar in the body, or we add in all kinds of other things, right? If we're skipping meals, we might go into hypoglycemia. So the result of all of these things that we might be doing, like eating sugar right before bed, drinking alcohol right before bed, not going to sleep on time, your body is going to release adrenaline and cortisol, which are stress hormones, to try to correct the imbalance. So if you have this sugar spike between 2 and 4 a.m., you might wake up with your heart racing and your mind spinning. So we've talked about the first two. The cortisol spikes are very literal. The blood sugar crash, very literal. And then many of you know that we do subconscious pattern reprogramming in my private work as well as in group programs. And this is how we actually change the itty bitty shitty committee. And if we're relying on the 3Ds of deny, distract, associate, we're not going to be changing the patterns unless we're doing those 28-day subconscious reprogrammings on time and then starting another 28-day. That's what's going to move the needle. So let's talk about the physiology. There's something called the default mode network in the brain. And in the early hours of the morning, the default mode network, this is what keeps you alive, what breathes for you, beats your heart for you, keeps all your blood circulating for you, and also like does a lot of things in your brain. It becomes incredibly active in the middle of the night. And so if we have unresolved emotional trauma, unresolved emotional patterns, if we have core beliefs that are disempowering, this is when the default mode network is going to try to process them. So the conscious mind is at rest. We're sleeping or trying to sleep. And the default mode network is going to come in and give you dreams to try to process what's happened in the past. Sometimes dreams will come to us and we'll actually figure things out. But if we haven't done the work, the 28-day reprogrammings that I do with my private clients and in group programs, then we're not going to have resolved and changed those itty bitty shitty disempowering beliefs. If you're holding on to resentment, anger, if you're suppressing emotion in any way and acting like everything's fine, it's going to disrupt your sleep cycle. So in some, the subconscious is trying to process what hasn't been fully integrated. And this leads to emotional anxiety, and it will present as physical symptoms. If you wake up with irritability, tension, if you wake up already restless, these are the physical symptoms I'm talking about. And if we ignore them over and over again, it will turn into illness in the body. It's dis-ease. That's what diseases are. Most diseases are caused by stress. And that's not me saying this. That's just science. Only about 5% of medicine is treating acute issues, a laceration, a break, some sort of wound that needs actual trauma repair, trauma in that sense, not trauma as in the emotional sense. So let's talk about the solution of doing targeted subconscious work. When clients adhere to the strictures of my program and don't just learn to meditate, they don't just learn to relax before bed, and they actually do the 28-day rewiring, reprogramming one after another, this moves the needle. So many people, private clients, group clients, have done the work consistently, and it changes their lives. I can show you how to simply rewire your brain and rewire that internal response that is really triggering the disruption in the first place. So today I'm going to give you some simple tricks for new sleep rituals. That'll be like a little band-aid. I'll give you some quick techniques to re-regulate the nervous system in the moment. And we're going to do a deep dive on subconscious reprogramming. I won't have time today to explain to you how to do it, but we will cover a lot of what the subconscious mind holds on to so that you can understand the subconscious mind in a better way. So first, let's talk about some sleep rituals. So things that you can do regularly that will rewire at least your routine so that you can move from just coping into actually rewiring. You've seen that I can help with breathing patterns that will actually cue parasympathetic nervous system settling. We don't want sympathetic nervous system arousal. That's that fight or flight. We want to go into that rest and digest parasympathetic nervous system. And when we use things like the Rev breath or the straw breath, these are amazing tools. We don't have time to explain all of those things today. The rainbow breath, these are amazing tools that are very calming to the system. Another great way to incorporate a ritual right before bed is to use sound and mantra. Of course, you can use your subconscious reprogramming right before bed and add in sound and mantra. So actually humming, and we're going to do a little bit of that today. And mantra is just anything. Mantra means mind tool. Man is mind, tra is tool. So it's something that the mind uses in order to actually allow the thoughts to settle. You can also do a visualization. We covered that in our last sleep strategies webinar. So visualizations before bedtime are helping you to actually get into that mind frame and think about preparing for rest. You can do meditations and things like that, but it's most helpful to actually visualize during the day in advance about what it's going to be like, all these rituals you are going to do, so that when you get in bed, you're actually ready for rest. And check out the other sleep anxiety, the sleep strategies for anxiety webinar that we have on here. There is a really great 3-step plan that is a body first plan, and it'll also help some with the mind for when you wake up in the middle of the night. And it's 3 simple things: name it, hum it, say it. So first of all, name what's happening. And that's very simple. You just tell yourself, I've got cortisol in my blood. I have adrenaline in my blood. I'm not in danger. So you're just naming actually what's happening instead of going into all of the worry. We simply name it. So second is you're going to hum. This is a breathwork technique that's also going to get you into the body and give the mind a little something to do so that you can relax. When we hum, it actually produces more nitric oxide here. And I'm going to encourage you to be breathing in and out of the nose for this. So if you're in a safe place, not driving or operating machinery or doing something that requires your full attention, just try this. Inhale into the nose and exhale out the nose with a and keep it going into the nose. Keep it going. Inhale into the nose. Keep it going as I explain what we're actually doing here. So when we inhale in and out of the nose, that's going to naturally activate parasympathetic. When we hum, it's going to increase the amount of nitric oxide. Also, breathing in and out of the nose is activating that nitric oxide in our nasal passages. That humming, that sighing actually gives a signal to the vagus nerve, which runs all throughout your central nervous system, that it's safe. So next time you're really keyed up and driving, you can try this with eyes open. It's a signal to the parasympathetic nervous system that it's okay. So if you wake up tonight, tomorrow, or at any point, you're going to first name what's happening. Tell your body, this is adrenaline, this is cortisol. It's not whatever your mind is making it believe. And then drop into the body and try this humming technique in and out of the nose, always. Breathing in and out of the mouth is how we go into panic. And the third thing you're going to do is just simply place your hand on your heart and your other on your belly. It doesn't matter which one, whatever feels most therapeutic to you. And say to yourself, I'm allowed to rest now. I deserve rest. I deserve peace and calm. And maybe add some more things. I'm allowed to rest now. Something that I really highly suggest when you do subconscious reprogramming is saying, I am allowed to rest. You are allowed to rest. We are allowed to rest. Because oftentimes the itty bitty shitty committee here will say things in a lot of different personages because it's things that we heard when we were growing up. You can create your own. So those are the three things. I hope that has a nice little bow on it. You can also create your own short bedtime audio that actually will rewire the feeling of safety at night. If you'd like a custom one, I'm happy to provide. I do those for my clients often. But you can also use a daytime reprogramming audio so that you're preparing yourself for sleep, establishing that safety, and then also use the nighttime recording in order to really solidify and relax and release. Coupled, of course, with some of the other tools and techniques that we talked about. Not eating a lot of sugar, not exposing yourself to the light, making sure that you're actually going to bed on time, and allowing the default mode network to actually rest and to actually process. Because when somebody wakes up in a panic, it's way too late to talk yourself down. So that's why in my programs, we use quick access tools to bypass the thinking of the brain and go straight to the body. When we use gentle breath work, it's actually going to physiologically slow the heart rate. When we use body awareness techniques, it will anchor you into presence. And we can also use simple sensory grounding to calm the vagus nerve. So you've probably heard of the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique for when you're out in public and maybe feel triggered. So I won't go into all that. You can look it up very easily. It's just using your senses to actually ground you in the moment. And it does have a profound effect on the vagus nerve. We can also create custom mantras, custom cues that will actually speak to the subconscious. Because what's happening is you've got an inner alarm system that is going off. It's trying to tell you there's deeper work to do here. And most people are just trying to fix the surface symptoms. When I work with clients, I guide them much, much deeper to actually shift the patterns that are running on autopilot unbeknownst to them. We identify and release the stored stress. These patterns are stored in the nervous system. You've probably heard of the book, The Body Keeps the Score. What we have to do is we have to replace reactive programming with calming, safe, and emotionally resonant signals. We have to create new associations that let the body know that it's safe to rest. And a big key to that is just understanding the subconscious mind. So I've put together 9 keys to understanding the subconscious mind. And these principles form the foundation for why resistance shows up. When you're trying to be in the body, when you're trying to harness the breath, when you're trying to watch the mind with curiosity, and you've got a lot of resistance, it's important to use reverent and shame-free approaches. So just understanding some of the core suppositions of the subconscious mind will make you understand that it's not your fault. It is, of course, your responsibility to take action. So the first presupposition of the subconscious mind that you need to know is that our subconscious mind thinks that familiar equals safe. It thinks that this situation that I am in, that I know so well, feels a lot safer than these things that I don't know. My mom always used to say, if we took all of our problems and lined them up on the street and got to go look through our problems and everybody else's problems, we would take our own problems back because we know them. And this means that when we have patterns from childhood of chaos and criticism and rejection, we will marry somebody that's just like our father or mother or stepfather or stepmother or grandmother that caused these feelings that we're carrying around because of the criticism, chaos, and rejection. Safe equals familiar, familiar equals safe. And this is what the subconscious mind believes because we survived. When we were out on the Cro-Magnon man, when we were out on the range, right? Hunters and gatherers, we were really focused on survival. And so we were trying to predict the future based off the past and keep ourselves safe. That's why the fight or flight mechanism in the body has helped Homo sapiens survive for millennia. We think that if I can predict it, I can survive it. This thing that actually seems maybe better on the surface, if I try to do it, start doing some subconscious reprogramming, and I feel different, I feel unsafe, I'm going to reject it. Because we think that we're safer in our problems that we know so well. And so this leads me very beautifully to the second presupposition of the subconscious mind. It's always trying to protect you. Always. Every subconscious pattern that's wreaking havoc in your life and causing panic attacks and trauma and drama was once something that actually kept you safe. It was something that was preventing pain or preventing danger. It's just that it's not working anymore. So even things like self-sabotage that I alluded to earlier, start doing some subconscious reprogramming. Oh, this doesn't sound safe. It's actually our subconscious mind trying to protect itself at the root. I'm feeling better. Let me reject this because I don't know what it feels like to feel good. So I'm not trying to attack anyone here. It's just that our subconscious is going to try to defend instead of attack. Number 3, for suppositions of the subconscious mind that are just baked in, is that we must approach it with repetition, not logic. And I know I'm bringing in a lot of logic here, but we just have to do the 28 days. There are clients who come into my programs and pay me a lot of money, and then they start to feel better and they don't want to do the full 28 days. They want to do something different every day. They want to meditate. They want to get that quick fix calm, but they're not willing to do the 28 days and then do another 28 days. It's very, very simple. And when we just do it every single day for 28 days and then pick up another one and do another one for 28 days, that's that repetition I'm talking about. And the subconscious mind learns through repetition. You can't talk your way into change. We have to use these really subtle and supple times of day so that the subconscious can actually absorb it. It's going to absorb it through that consistency. You've got to apply that pattern. And then when we layer in the emotional intensity of really wanting so badly to feel better, then we will actually be able to move the needle. And this leads me beautifully into the fourth presupposition of the subconscious mind, one of these 9 keys to understanding your own subconscious. You've got to prioritize emotion over intellect because your subconscious mind does. We've got to prioritize emotion over intellect. So if you've been in my programs and you've done 328 days and you've done it every single day, no matter what, but you're not including some genuine emotion, you're not actually following the directions and recalling things that have a lot of emotion tied into them, the intellect is not going to pick up on it. We're not going to be able to actually reprogram the subconscious because the subconscious responds to feeling, not fact. A strong emotional experience can program the subconscious mind like a trauma. And when it's done over and over again, obviously, we're going to have a lot more work to do. So if my daughter, who has never been beaten or hit at all, were to have someone do that to her, it would be a big trauma. And she would be programmed very quickly to stay away from that person and to not do whatever she was doing at the time. If a child has been beaten over and over again, that's going to be a double whammy of both emotion as well as repetition. So it's going to require a lot more work. And we have to prioritize the emotion that we're actually inserting into our reprogramming, which is why I give very specific instructions on how to do your own reprogramming, or I do it for my clients at first. So there can be a lot of emotion in there. Because a strong emotional experience can rewire a belief faster than rational understanding. So let's talk about the fifth presupposition of the subconscious mind. This is part of the 9 keys to understanding your own subconscious mind. If you have any questions, please throw it in the chat. Your subconscious mind does not know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. This is why dreams, especially bad dreams, can feel so scary. And we wake up and we know that it was not real. And we can use this to our advantage and use visualization techniques to our advantage. We can actually insert these positive patterns into our lives systematically, consciously. We can actually have this semi-somatic experience inside of our brains. We can feel real to the subconscious just by really enacting all of our senses while we're in a subconscious program, reprogramming. So this is why the guided inner work that I help my clients with is so powerful, because if you can see it on the inside, it must be happening. And so if you're having trouble with dreams, please lean on visualization and make sure that you're actually consistently doing the reprogramming work, especially the things that um, include those strong visualizations. So, number 6, the subconscious mind, as we talked about, is seeking completion of unfinished business. So there's an example that I like to give about if we were Cro-Magnon man or, early Homo sapiens, and we're hunters and gatherers, and we eat a red berry, and it gives us indigestion of some kind, like what we mentioned earlier. We're not going to walk around going like, I don't want to find a red berry. We're not going to walk around scared about it. But next time we see a red berry, that trauma that we experienced in the body of the GI upset is going to resurface because it's trying to find completion to this unfinished business, correct it, and not do what we learned we shouldn't do. And this is what's happening with bad dreams in the middle of the night. It's our subconscious trying to process this unfinished business that we're not attending to during the day. It will also come up when we're in a fight with a partner or a loved one of any kind or a boss. The trauma will resurface in the body because we have not done the inner work to actually change the way that we're perceiving things. And this is why these patterns repeat over and over again. Your subconscious is just seeking a resolution to this unresolved pattern, to this unresolved disempowering wound. And it's going to keep doing that until it finds a way to safely rewrite the ending. It's not going to go away until we actually do the reprogramming and the rewiring. It's going to keep on saying, let's try again. Maybe this time we're going to get it right. Number 7, your subconscious is going to obey the primary identity. And this is where we come to thoughts of unworthiness, not being good enough, these disempowering core beliefs that were rooted in during childhood that now come out as the itty bitty shitty committee. The subconscious is going to remain loyal to your own self concept of not being good enough, not being smart enough, being abandoned, being rejected. I'm saying these disempowering things because it's on that list that my clients know, those 7 families of disempowering core wounds. So even if you have a limiting or horrible self-concept, it's going to revert back to what feels safe according to the programming that it got. I survived this trauma. I survived these horrible things that happened in childhood or in middle school. I mean, middle school is a horrible time. Kids are so mean and rude. High school as well, but really middle school when everybody's trying to figure out their own self-concept, they end up being so mean and rude. And so we'll revert to that feeling that, oh, if I can just be myself, right? This self that feels safe, even if they believe I'm unworthy. Even if success comes, we will reject that success because it will threaten our disempowering core belief. Number 8, the job of your subconscious, not your self-conscious, the job of your subconscious is to keep you alive, not to keep you happy. The job of your subconscious is to keep you alive, not happy. Every single client that I've ever done a pre-interview with, I ask them what they really want. And they say, I want peace. I want to be happy. It's what everyone wants. And I'm giving you the formula in these programs in order to actually move the needle and find that sense of happiness. But survival will always trump joy in the subconscious mind. It will override your growth if it perceives that that growth is dangerous. It thinks happiness is optional, survival is mandatory. This is the way that the subconscious works. And finally, the ninth key to understanding your subconscious is very simple. It's always listening. Always. Especially to the thoughts that you have in your head. Your inner talk becomes who you are. And if you want to replace the disempowering things that the itty bitty shitty committee is saying, you have to lean in and do the work, because the subconscious mind takes internal language and imagery very literally, which is why we talk about not using a rollerblading octopus. It's like if I say, do not think of an octopus in rollerblades, we're immediately trying to, how many of those tentacles have rollerblades, right? Basically, what you say about yourself are commands. And in my programs, we do guided subconscious reprogramming practice. And you can also create your own short bedtime audio that will rewire that feeling of safety at night. You can make one for during the day. And I'll just say it again. There's only one relationship. There's only one relationship. So if you signed up for this webinar and are watching the replay, finally, maybe, because you didn't have time, you've got to actually do the suggestions. So when you wake up in the middle of the night, don't grab the cell phone and put that blue light in your face. Don't lay there tossing and turning. Turn to your body and your breath and actually use these techniques and others that you'll find in here to be able to soothe yourself, because there's only one relationship. And it's just like having a relationship with a partner. I mean, in my home, my wife and I have what we call relationship church. Every Sunday, we read our manifesto, we do an emotional check-in, and we share what's really going on. And when things feel overwhelming, one of our go-to practices is something we call zooming out. And we shift from that spiraling into gratitude. It helps us to zoom out and see the full picture. Because whatever we are triggered about is not something that the other person put there. We get to look at the whole picture and refocus those 40 to 50 bits of attention on something that's actually useful and helpful. Because what is bothering us most is not about what was said or what was did. It's not even about who said it. It's about our own disempowering core beliefs that were put inside of us during childhood. It's not your fault. It's absolutely not your fault. And it's your responsibility. If somebody puts a golf ball or a baseball through my window, it's not my fault. And me ignoring it is not going to help. There's going to be elements coming in. My kid, my animals could hurt themselves. I could get a fine from the city. Who knows? And that's what the 3Ds allow us to do. And if I were to choose to not deny, distract, dissociate, but complain and step into victim mode and be like, who did this? I can't believe somebody did this. That's not helpful either. It's not our fault, but it is our responsibility. And that's why we get to step into these techniques. So if we're worrying about some situation spinning in the head, we can go back to that 3-step quick fix, and then you can actually go deeper and fix the problem. And that's what I do in my one-on-one programs as well as my group programs. Because we are making meaning of the worry when we wake up at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. Those spinning thoughts are things that are happening physiologically in the body, some of which we can take measures to prevent. And others of which, right before bed, I mean, like simple measures like going to sleep on time and not exposing ourselves to the light, not eating a bunch of sugar. And we can actually do the internal work to stop the itty bitty shitty committee and turn it into something that can be empowering, where we can actually find power. Because when we understand what these thoughts mean to our nervous system, that it's causing disease in the body, then we can actually learn how to lean on these 3 tools for resilience, which you've heard me say over and over again. Those 3 tools for resilience are body, breath, and mind, in that order. Whenever we wake up and the mind is spinning, that's the mind controlling the body and the breath. And yeah, it started in the body. The body had a physiological process caused by a mental process, perhaps, that it was stored, whether that be sugar or light or trauma. And it's sending things up into the body, causing us to breathe shallowly. And then the mind tries to make meaning of it. And it's not fair that the mind would be controlling the body and the breath. We get to take back control by watching the mind with curiosity. So we anchor in the body, we use the breath, harness the breath for our own good, and we watch the mind with curiosity. Because that's the way that we develop. And modern stress is turning all of it on its head. So don't rely on the 3Ds. Use the 3 tools for resilience. Get in the body, harness the breath, and observe the mind with curiosity instead of judgment, because your body is where your subconscious lives. Remember, billions of bits of data, 11 million are hitting the brain and the body per second, but we're only consciously aware of 40 to 50. 0.04% are we consciously aware of. The rest is coming into your body. It's coming into your subconscious. This is how you can feel tension in a room before anybody speaks. It's how you know when somebody is upset or in a good mood. Because our subconscious, our body is picking up on the signals before your brain even has time to catch up. So just to recap, when your mind starts spinning at night, zoom out. Come back to your body, come back to your breath, and watch the mind with curiosity. You deserve to get to know yourself. And if you want to improve, you have to get to know that itty bitty shitty committee and then begin the real work to do the reprogramming.